Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm the voice of Sea of Thieves, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news for you. So tie yourself to the mast and hold fast.
Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I have a very special episode. We are at the week 4 for the gold hoarder or the hoarder hunt mystery, but we don't have the answer yet. Nobody has won that yet. So sit back, relax, while I have for you none other than George Orton, who is one of the developers over at Rare. He has helped with a lot of the tall tales originally in the Sea of Thieves when it first came out. He is a fantastic football player or soccer ball player, depending on where your allegiances lie on that whole situation, as far as, like, you know, are you pro football, are you pro soccer player? It doesn't matter, it's all the same sport. But the nice thing is that he went and organized with in conjunction with all of the studios that are in the UK. Well, not all of the studios, most of the studios that are in the UK for a special effect, a one big day special match. It was 24 hours of constant football. It was industry wide, didn't matter what studio they were from. And George, who funny enough, being a designer, had designed all of this to work together seamlessly. There was a bunch of teams. It was a fantastic day. There was a ton of money raised for special effect, and I can't wait to find out what the next year's goal is going to look like. I got a chance to sit down and chat with him for a while, and I wanted to just kind of focus on this because it's not too often that companies have an opportunity to make a big impact, not just with the games they're making, but with the communities and the charities that are surrounding them. Special Effect has had a lot of connections with Rare over the years, and it's fantastic to see that kind of follow through with them wanting to do something for Special Effect beyond just, you know, the expected kind of like cosmetics for sale, things like that. So this was a fantastic interview. It was a fantastic day. I learned a lot about football, and we had such a good conversation. So I can't wait for you to hear about that. But before we do that, I got to thank the patrons. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast, just like you can, to support this content. If you're enjoying what I'm doing and you like the interviews that I'm doing, if you want to hear from SOT Fest and Festa Legends, those are all things that I'm going to be working on this summer. It's going to be a very busy summer for me, so anything that can go towards helping me do things like that is always appreciated. Take care of yourself first, but I have to thank the patrons that are signed up right now. So thank you to People's Republic, L Cute, Balls, Bam Bam Bagel, Captain Chonky, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Trickster, Jabaro 5, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Nightstar, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Michael V, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Regis Stella, Raja the Brave, Replicated Flame, Rust Belt Kid, Skamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Captain J Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Ghost Boy 20, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Windsor Chris, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your love and your support. And just a heads up, if you didn't know, there is in the Discord a Diablo 4 clan for the Keelhauled community. So if you happen to be playing, we've got Chateau Neuf in there. I know that we've got Lieutenant Lunatic. There's a few other folks that I know are playing. So if you want to join up, that's always an opportunity. Just search for Keelhauled and you'll find the clan. And I'll definitely get you an invite out for that. So hope you guys are enjoying your time in Hell or Sanctuary, wherever you plan to be. But let's get into the interview.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I am very well, thank you. That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah, don't know what to expect from this. I'm a little nervous.
Nah, I don't. I just wanted to hang out with you, honestly. as long as I got an opportunity to chat with you. Honestly, dude, I'm just so impressed with all of the one big game thing that I was just like, dude, this is like such a cool thing to do. Like I don't see this too often with game studios or people in game studios. Like I think Obsidian is one of the other Microsoft studios that I see that has like a regular, like they do like a Wednesday charity stream, like, and that's like one of their favorite things is they'll play like Grounded or something else, but that's it. But like, this is like a huge deal. And the fact that you pulled it off is insane. So that's what I really wanted to just kind of pull you in for, is just be like, dude, how, like, why, like all the you know, the big questions about like
all the questions we're still asking ourselves. Yeah.
So, but first off, how are you doing, man? How have things been?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Like life on Sea of Thieves is going great, honestly. Like there are so many exciting things in the work. The team are running at full speed, which is just an amazing environment to be in, like surrounded by creative people who are in the flow is super cool.
I bet.
And then we're getting to play football pretty regularly, which is always nice. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a crazy, like, it's just been a crazy year so far for games in general. But I mean, like the community, they surprised me recently, like, because I don't know about you if you're a huge Zelda fan or not, but I'm a huge Zelda fan. So they surprised me with one of these guys, because I was planning on like I've got SOT Fest like locked and loaded. Like I've got my tickets, I've got the like the transportation set up, the hotels are covered. Like I'm ready to go for this trip. I want to hit up both. And so they realized like I had canceled the pre-order for the collector's Switch because I wanted to like have the money for the trips. So they went and got me one, and I was just like, what? So
that's amazing.
It's crazy. But yeah, I just the whole mystery thing has been fantastic. Been diving into that. Like the first week was so cool. And I can imagine, coming from like an escape room background, you've probably had a pretty good time like looking and seeing like what the different puzzles are and what's coming up and stuff. And have you had any work on that? Has that been something you've been diving into, or is that kind of outside your purview and you've just kind of been like seeing all the magic happen?
Yeah, I've actually not been involved in that at all.
Oh, wow.
So like that's been handled by another team internally at Rare, and I've got to kind of experience that as a player. Like I've been lurking in various corners of the internet, like watching people solve these, and like it's been more akin to like watching, because when I did the escape room stuff as well as building them, like I used to run the games for folks, and then when the team of people are in there, you go behind the curtain and on a camera kind of watch people do them. So it's been more like that, like, oh, I think they're making a mistake there, and oh, why are they doing this? And but like to see the community talking about it so much, and to see people theorizing alongside, like I know Becky and Joe from Rare in the community have been having a like jumping in, because a lot of us don't know anything. Like it's been really cool to see this one. Yeah, really, it's so funny, because I really don't care about like actually winning. I've just been having so much fun, like bouncing ideas off of people and like trying to push things forward, and just trying to come up with ways to figure out, like, I've learned so much about ciphers in the last week. It's insane. I feel like my mind has been melting off of looking at symbols and letters and trying to understand it. Like I'm starting to see words and symbols, and I'm like, this is getting crazy. I got to step away for a little bit. But yeah, I've been having a good time with that. But I wanted to bring you in, like, to kind of talk about one big game, because I've been kind of thinking in my head, this is like I'm used to Rare kind of doing charity sales. Like charity sales are kind of like the go-to for a lot of the different charity work that Rare does, and charity is something that is kind of like on the same level of importance when it comes to delivering a good game experience for Rare. It feels like it's deep rooted in the community and in the I can't think of the word, but it's like Craig Duncan always has like the mantra. It's like on one of the walls
there as far as like what Rare is and what it stands for and stuff. And it feels like charity is deeply rooted in that. So I wanted to bring you on because you've been playing football, but has football always been like a thing that is like, because I feel like you're really proficient at it, but is that something you've been doing like all your life?
Well, I'll take really proficient as a compliment. I adore football.
Yeah.
Specifically playing it. Like it is a sport I've grown up with. I never really played as part of a team when I was growing up. It used to be something we did on the playground at school or kind of on the street when we got home from school, rather than like, oh, on Saturdays I go to training and Sunday we play a game. Like I've never kind of lived that. And then at university played in a five-a-side league with like some of my friends. Kind of fell in love with like real genuine team spirit and sense of like doing something together and overcoming a challenge, and even the competitive nature of it. So yeah, like always loved the game, and to come to Rare, which is a studio which has its own football pitch. I'm not going to say that was top of the reasons that I joined, but certainly when I was kind of before I had my interview, I gave the place a quick look on Google Maps, and I was like, "Is that a football pitch?" I was like, "Okay, well, we need to make this happen." So yeah, to come to Rare and meet so many great footballers and have a chance to kind of set up that, or not set up that team, like football at Rare existed way before I was here, but to step into that team and experience what it's like to play amongst friends is it's just the most addictive feeling. Like there's a way, like I've got a really cheesy way of describing why I love it. And this, like this, honestly, we have these moments when we're building Sea of Thieves, when we're chatting about other projects, when we're like whether it's, when you're laughing and joking with your mates down the pub, but specifically on the football pitch. Have you seen like films like Pitch Perfect or TV shows like Glee? Yeah. You know, in those like musical shows where in that world, the characters start singing together, but it's, in that world, it's unrehearsed, it's unprompted, but they're just kind of feeling a vibe and they're all on beat, on rhythm, perfectly pitched with each other, and they're improvising a song. Like playing football gives me that like hairs stood on end. All my days we're doing this like level of teamwork, and that is such an addictive feeling when it obviously when it goes well, but even when it doesn't. Right, like the Rare football team has been through a lot, even in my short stint here. We've seen it all, but it's just an addictive feeling. Like
that's cool, playing
with your friends and yeah, and specifically getting better at things, like improving alongside friends as well. Sorry, that's a really rambly sort of. No,
that's I know how you feel, because it's a sense of passion that you have with others. Yeah. And when you find kindred spirits like that, it's so much fun just to because it feels like you are just kind of jamming together. Like you're just in the moment, jamming, you're just enjoying it.
Yeah, jamming is the exact right word.
Yeah.
Like the exact right word. And it's great to have that alongside other people who've been playing football their whole lives. But one of the most valuable things to me about football at Rare, alongside all the amazing things that it's enabled with charity, is how it brings people together across the studio. Like on our five-a-side kick around tonight, where it's just us, we go to a pitch and we play five-a-side. There are folks there who dabbled with football like myself for their whole lives. There are folks there who've been in teams since they were young kids and are very, very good at football. And there are people who play with us who literally had never kicked a football until they came to kick around on a Tuesday night with the Rare squad. And everyone approaches it with the same attitude. Everyone kind of jumps in and looks out for each other. And it's just a super valuable sort of team experience, studio-wide, basically.
That's really cool. So you brought up the charity aspect of it. And I wanted to ask, special effect has been... I know Becky, came from special effect, and special effect beforehand had been closely tied to a lot of the work that Rare has done in the past. for you, was that kind of the natural pick for the one big game? And if so, is there a reason why special effect in particular?
Yeah, so special effect was the natural pick. We had done football things with them in the past, even before I was here. They themselves, as a charity, are always running 5-a-side tournaments and stuff. So already within the studio, there's like a connection between special effect and football. That doesn't mean special effect means football. And I always say, like, there are a million ways to raise money and awareness for charities. It doesn't always have to be football. It just happens that football is what I know, so that's how I choose to do it. So yeah, folks who've been running Rare Football before me have always supported special effect. The studio's got a massive involvement with special effect, and it's because the work they do is so genuinely life-changing for the people they do it for. It's obviously very closely related to the work we do at Rare. Like, we make games and they make sure that everyone who can, or as many people who can, play games. So it's incredibly empowering for us to be able to support them in that mission. So yeah, honestly, we didn't really think about it, and it, like, one big game itself evolved from the previous iteration of football, which was the L Game Pasico, which was the Rare versus Playground match, and that evolved in itself from like the FIFA tournament that we had, or the FIFA match that we had against Playground during lockdown. Like, it all kind of stemmed from like that one silly idea to play some FIFA against another game studio, and we're like, well, let's do some good with this. And it's kind of snowballed into certainly a UK wide games industry thing, which is really cool, and it creates a ton of connections for special effects, and it creates a ton of like awareness, because they're always telling us, though, like, obviously, like, they speak to the work they do better than I do. Like, we support them 100%, but they're always saying awareness is as important as any funds raised. Like, the more people who are talking about special effect, the better it is for them. So to have any opportunity to do that is sort of massive. And we'll continue to do that going forward.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And it's great to see that they're constantly championing the opportunity for everyone to be able to play games, which is kind of at the heart of Microsoft gaming. In general, the more people play, the more we have fun. And it's interesting to kind of talk about the history of one big game, because it was interesting to learn that it kind of started off from lockdown and just two studios playing FIFA online, and then evolving into the actual in-game football, and then opening it up to all of the studios in the UK to come and participate. And to do this over the course of 24 hours seems like a monumental effect. So can you tell me about some of the difficulties of trying to manage so many different studios with all of the different people, also while broadcasting it for 24 hours straight, and like how is that, as far as like you being the person that's kind of championing this cause?
That, like you called it, a monumental sort of effect. That I think you could also translate that as a ridiculous idea. Like, it was big. Thankfully, I was nowhere near on my own in doing this. There's an incredible team of folks, both within Rare and outside of Rare, who made this possible. Had like a really close unit of folks in Rare that supported the whole thing, and then a couple other people from Special Effect themselves. Like, we talked to them on an almost weekly basis, and certainly did so in the build up to this. But yeah, it was pretty big. It all started with a Post-it note. Like Joe Neat, who's the exec producer on Sea of Thieves, as I'm sure you know.
Heard of him.
Yeah. He's a shy fella. But yeah, Joe and I were kind of in a room. This is having just played the first real life football match against Playground. And we were like, that was great. That was so much fun. It's a shame that we lost. But it was so much fun. How do we do it? What do we do next? And that's like just our attitude at Rare often is like, we've done something really great. What's next? And we put a load of post-it notes on the board. Most of them weren't even football related at that point. They were like various different ideas of things we could do to further support special effects. It's like, what's the next big thing? And then I've had an idea in my head since I joined Rare, maybe before that. Like, I'd love to play football for 24 hours. Like, I'd love to see if that is even humanly possible. So I put that post-it note up on the board, and Joe didn't say no, and then here we are. We kind of did it.
No, you guys killed it.
There's a ton of steps in between, but yeah, it was honestly from Joe, Craig, and Harriet at Rare, like fully embracing the idea that we were going to go and do this, through to special effects supporting us with all their contacts, because they often had more contacts than we did across the UK games industry because of all the other fundraising they've done. Yeah. Through to even Minesh, who, Minesh and all the match officials, but Minesh kind of organized all of the referees and match officials, like the way they threw themselves into this ridiculous challenge of running a football match for 24 hours. Amanda and everyone at St. George's Park, like every step of the way, we were very conscious that this was an idea that no one had done before, certainly to our knowledge, and that every person we were asking to help had never done anything like this before. And we were so lucky and so grateful that every person involved in the organization and involved in the participation, like all the studios and all their representatives, every person we spoke to was like, this sounds bonkers, let's do it. And we found a way to make it happen. It was super empowering, like a super exciting challenge to overcome.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So I would imagine you're talking to special effect as far as them knowing so many studios and being able to bring them in on it. Did you get an opportunity to really kind of jump in with some of the other team members from different studios to talk about games, or like, did that come up, or was it nothing but football, just focusing on that, keeping the team separate? Like, was there anything involved with that?
In the build up or like, because during the day we were chatting to everyone. There was like a genuine, real community spirit around the whole thing. Like some of the teams who were playing in the dead of night had got a hotel on site at St. George's Park, so they'd come and watch the other games and then go back to bed for a bit and then come and play and then go back to bed and then come and watch. Like, you'd see the same faces coming in and out of the room the whole time. Everyone was so supportive. And honestly, like we really tried to push the sort of atmosphere of the event to being more friendly than it was competitive. Like, we wanted it to be a competition, don't get me wrong. But we were really keen to be like, it's a charity match. Everyone is coming here to do something silly and have a great time doing it at a venue. Like, for those that don't know, we played at St. George's Park, which is the home of like the England national teams. Like, it's where the national teams train. It's where all of the like big names English footballing stars have played on that pitch. So to get to go there and experience like the changing rooms, the facilities that they've used, like the hospitality, the generosity of the folk organizing it, and do it all in the name of such a great charity, was like embraced by everyone. And you could, whether you were on the pitch or on the sidelines, you could feel the excitement of the whole day. Like, everyone was buzzing, people were cheering each other along. We had Nick and Liam from Special Effect. They were there for the full kind of 24 hours. Liam played in a couple of the matches, did really well. Finally got his goal. And they were chatting to everyone. So like the whole day just felt amazing. And then to come away having raised, I think we ticked over £30,000 like a week ago or something. So to raise that figure because some game devs kicked a ball around is like is brilliant. It was great. The atmosphere was great.
Man, that's so cool. And you talked about Liam getting to play in a few matches, but you played in a fair few matches yourself. So I was wondering if you could kind of share your thoughts and your experience on what it was like playing in, like, why did you go for so many matches first off? But also, like, did you always plan on that? Like, were you planning to play as much as possible? I know you mentioned the Post-it note and if it was humanly feasible, but like, did you plan on playing so much?
Yeah, I wanted to play for the full 24 hours at one point. Some wiser folk close to me informed me that was probably a bad idea. But I wanted to play as much as possible. Like I've said already, I'm completely addicted to the feeling of playing football with friends, and even like with people who aren't yet friends. Like I played in the first game of the day, like the special effects team. I did 20 minutes for them, and I'd never met any of them before. But to get on and like kick the event off with those folk, and like we'll do the same again next year, and we'll all catch up, and like we're all chatting to each other still. Like it's great. But yeah, playing in as many games as possible was always part of my plan, and I'm incredibly lucky that I managed to get through it. I can't fully remember the whole event, but that's probably because I didn't sleep for probably a total of 40 odd hours from start to finish.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is a blur, but luckily it was all on Twitch. So I can go back and see what I was doing during that blur.
Well, you killed it on the last match. I gotta say, like I'd taken like an 8-hour stint to sleep. I'd been watching the whole thing like start to finish, except for the 8 hours where I had to go to get some sleep. But that last match was just absolutely amazing. It was a really like I went into soccer having played a little bit as a kid on a team for like, for my dad wanted me in sports and stuff. So I played, I was stuck in goalie for a long time because that was where I was told I was good. I shouldn't be running that much.
You're a hero. If you play goalkeeper, you're a hero. Honestly. An absolute anyone who voluntarily or like who chooses to go in goal has done all of their teammates an incredible favor. Every goalkeeper is a hero in my eyes.
The sacrifice. So, but I mean, outside of that, like I was probably too young to really understand the rules, but I understood what goalie was, and I knew that was the one thing I could do. So going into the one big match and watching the 24 hours, I think I've learned more about especially just kind of like football in general, because to me it's always been soccer, but to learn about like football and like offsides and man of the match, and there's so many like little terminologies that I was unaware of, and having watched close to 24 hours of it, I was like, I felt like I came away with a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge, and I've kind of enjoyed watching football as a result. So I'm really kind of surprised, but that last match, like you really killed it. I think you got a hat trick for sure on that last one. But
I think it was 5 goals.
Yeah, it was it was 5 full. Humble brag.
Not that anyone was counting.
No one was keeping track of who was making those. I'm sure you could probably review the footage later on, but yeah, five goals in that last match. He absolutely killed it. And this was after, like you mentioned, not having any sleep at all for at least 40 hours. Definitely the 24. I know that the commentators throughout the night were like, yeah, no, he's still up. We're not sure how or why, but he's still up and he's still walking around talking to people and stuff. So what does it feel like to know like the last match of this charity event is the one that you're just absolutely killing it on, and you've probably showing everyone just like how much fun you can have, and that you can push and push and push yourself to do more than you think you can, even when you think like you're at the end.
I honestly, I don't know, because I genuinely don't remember much of that match at all. For starters, the only reason I did anything in that game is because of the team who were around me. Like the rare football team at the moment, the folks who played in that last game, the folks who played in the games both with like the joint and versus playground matches, everyone involved with rare football at the moment is like among my favorite people in the world. We have such a close kind of knit group of folks from across the studio, all sorts of disciplines, experience levels, everything. And the only reason that last game was so much fun is because I was on the pitch with my friends. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who scores. It doesn't matter who assists. Like, we were out there having a laugh. And yeah, like we went out to try and win. And I think this was true for everyone on there. Like, I certainly wasn't the only person playing in that rare team who was on tired legs. Half of our squad at that point had played in at least one, if not two or three other matches.
Yeah.
During the day, it was a long event. Like, we were all tired, but when it gets to the end of something, like when you've been working incredibly hard, like we'd done some extra training in the build up to it to try and get a little bit fitter, get to know each other. When you've been working towards something for so long, like, you must have felt this yourself in terms of, like, sometimes like deadlines are approaching or projects are coming, but like you're tired, and then all of a sudden, like, the last 10% happens and you're just a bundle of energy. It was just, that last match was pure excitement. So that's a credit to everyone who played football with Rare, everyone on the pitch at that side. Our opposition in that match, Ripstone, honestly, it was a joy to share the pitch with them. Like, it was a super competitive game for most of the game. I don't think the scoreline was fair to them at all. They had some quality players, like, throughout the pitch. They were also all lovely folks on the pitch. Like, we spend what it's hard for the stream to pick up is that most of the time you're chatting to people. Like, it's easy to think on the stream that, there are 22 people out there, 11 on each side, and they're just working against each other and not really talking. But like, if an opposition team member is near me, we're always having a chat. We're always talking to each other. Like, it's always super friendly. And that was across the whole team. Like, honestly, Ripstone were the perfect folks to finish one big game with, because they came and they gave us a proper game. They took it the perfect level of serious, but they also knew that we were there for a laugh. And yeah, like, it was a blur, but it was a lovely way to end the day.
So looking forward to next year, you talked about wanting to what can you do next year? I'm sure you've probably already had these talks. If not, you're probably doing them soon with Joe for another Post-it note session. So looking forward to next year, like one big game was 24 hours just in the UK. There's conversations about trying to get other studios in the US involved, speculation. Can you tease anything about what's coming in next year, or what some goals that you hope to accomplish as far as like charity wise, or like stretch of where these games are happening?
Yeah, like, we know we're onto something really special with one big game, in terms of the format, in terms of how it brings people together, both on the pitch and at home. Like, the little bits of the stream that I've watched back, the Twitch chat actually blew me away with how positive everyone was. Like, there were some concerns throughout that, like, there was concerns in the build up that because it's the internet, who knows which way this is going to go, and because it's football, and folks who enjoy football can often get quite passionate and quite expressive with how they feel about the football that's being played. But honestly, everyone at home and on a pitch embraced it in a perfect way. So we know we're onto something special. So in that regard, the pressure is kind of off in terms of making it bigger. I don't think One Big Game 2024 will be a, quote, bigger event. We're not going to go away and go, we've done a day, let's do a week. Because I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good for anyone. What we do want to do is ensure as many people as possible can take part. So I'm going to say a load of stuff now, and I'm going to hope it all comes true.
We'll have to revisit in a year.
Yeah. I would love for us to get back up to the 24 participating teams that we originally planned, because we dropped to 22. because of some logistic stuff. I'd also love to have more studios involved in general. Like, it was great that Rare got to play in a few matches, but if we can take away one of those Rare teams and replace it with someone else from the games industry and give them a chance to join in and bring with them their players, their fans, their employees, like, I think that's an incredibly valuable thing to do. There's a ton of logistics stuff that is too boring to talk about. Too boring to talk about here, that we know we can get better. We know we can do the stream side of things better and more effectively. So next year is going to be more about one big game, but better. Because we've kind of proven that it can work now. That was half the battle of this one, was like, when you ask someone to take part in it, they're like, what is it? What are you talking about? Whereas next year it'll be like, we've already done this. We just want to do it loads better again. That being said, that will cover next year. We do have plans for potentially more expansive ideas. You've alluded to some yourself. Like, I'm not
going to beat around the bush.
There are certainly other parts of the world, and we know football is a game that's enjoyed across the globe. I think it would be amazing at some point to get this further afield, and kind of embrace the sort of global nature of football alongside the global nature of the games industry, and embrace the good that those two incredibly powerful sort of movements can do, whether it's for special effect or any other charities globally, right? Like, there's a ton of good you could do with something that has the potential to snowball like this. So we have some ideas. I'm not going to reveal them all just now, because they are, again, suitably daft. So we need to make sure they're pitched in the right way. But yeah, like, you're not wrong to call out that other people would like to play. We'll see what we can do about that next year. I suspect it will be limited because we've got a year to do that, and we want to make sure it's done right. But it's certainly in our minds when we think about sort of potential future for an event like this.
Yeah, I know that, at least here in the States, football, oddly enough, soccer is not as popular as something like our American football or like basketball or even baseball for that matter. It's all seem to be a lot more popular compared to like football as like an international sport. But I know there's Able Gamers, fantastic charity that I would love to have American companies. So do you know if any of what you've been doing with One Big Game has kind of gone up the food chain as far as like heading up to Microsoft and having someone like Phil Spencer kind of take a look at that and see what can be done across with at least some of the studios that are based here in the States? Is any of that kind of conversation transpired, or is that something that you're looking to do?
Honestly, I don't know. I doubt it. This has kind of been driven at like, it's more of a personal thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily need driving up a food chain. What events like this need are people who love the idea. And that's not to say that folks up the food chain don't. We've certainly had support from folks within Xbox who I would never have expected to even know that an event like this is going on, and they've jumped in and lent a hand in ways that we are incredibly grateful for.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's also like crucial that this doesn't become an Xbox thing. Like, it's not Xbox's One Big Game. It's One Big Game, and it's a games industry wide event to raise money for charities that have no affiliation to any individual publisher or studio or like platform. And it's important that it stays that way. So the future of it, certainly, whether it's stateside or whether it's in other areas of the world, like with our plans for how we think we might approach other areas of the world in terms of roping them in, we have some ideas of who we'd need to talk to make that happen.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, like, if people in those areas want to make something like this happen, just give it a go. Like, it's hard, and you'll need connections, and you don't need connections, you'll need to make connections. But honestly, like, it doesn't need to be massive. Like, go and play a game of football with some friends and like sponsor yourselves and play it for 5 hours. Like, 5 hours is still a ridiculous amount of time to play football for. Like, these events don't need to be huge and like Twitch streamed and involve like celebrities the likes of Joe Neat in order to be a massive success. They need to be like, just having people passionate about what they're doing and who they're doing it for is the most important thing. Like I said, we started out because we tweeted Ralph to try and wind him up a little bit in order that he'd play football with us because we were bored during lockdown. And then we were like, I think the idea might have come from Ralph actually to stream it and make it special effects thing, and then it snowballed into this industry-wide thing. Like, the best thing to do if folks want to try something like this is just start something. But yeah, like,
that's really cool.
We have plans on some of this stuff, but that shouldn't let anyone else stop themselves from doing their own thing.
Yeah, I love the call out and the correction about making it a games industry event and not an Xbox specific one, because I tend to lean more towards Xbox just due to the nature of my preferences. But I love seeing when CEOs or presidents or the higher ups can rally behind a cause and really kind of push for other studios to be involved with it. But I do love the idea of having the inclusion of all of the different studios across the game industry, and that it's something that it shouldn't be just one ecosystem. It should be everyone's ecosystem. So everyone appreciates the same way everyone can enjoy games, or we strive to have that. The better bonds and relationships that you can build between studios that work on games for multiple systems or singular systems, the more conversations that can be had there, I think the better relationships you can build, the more ideas you can bring in, the more minds you bring to stuff. It always enriches, it's always kind of trying to enrich the pool of knowledge and bringing in people for causes like special effect, for other charity events and things like that, that you start to kind of find people in those different pockets of the game industry that you normally wouldn't have talked to because you don't necessarily work on the same projects or in the same genre of projects even. And I really love that. I think that that's something that I wish I had thought of when coming up with the questions, but I really appreciate that feedback. I think it's fantastic.
It's cool. Like, it's a habit to get into.
Yeah.
We all love playing, whether it's football or video games. We all love playing.
Yeah. And I think that's what it really comes back to, is just having a passion for something, recognizing that, and seeing how you can take that and help others with it, which seems to be a lot of what games and charities like Special Effect do with stuff. So speaking of being passionate and with that, I wanted to ask, because you've helped design a lot of stuff in Sea of Thieves. You came from a very interesting background. You moved into working on games. And I know I remember the day when Mike Chapman had specifically talked about how they brought in someone specifically to help design Tall Tales and the puzzles within those. So I wanted to ask you, of all the stuff that you've kind of designed, is there anything that you want to showcase or anything that you're exceptionally proud of to see in the game or to see it launch when it came to the game?
It's really hard to pick a specific thing. I think we are incredibly lucky. I am incredibly lucky to work amongst the folks that I work with, because they're all just silly talented and silly passionate about what they do, and totally embrace like the nature of the game we're building and all of the kind of challenges that we need to overcome to do it. So it's hard to pick any one thing, because we've been lucky enough that across all of the things that we've shipped over the last 5 years of Sea of Thieves, we've overcome completely different challenges with every update. We've never really faced the same problem twice. We've all become better at dealing with stuff and coming up with, whether it's ideas or solutions, but we've also become better at making sure that the team is working in a functional way, like that everyone, we've become better at looking out for each other and building this stuff in a sustainable way. So I don't know, is it a cop-out to say the thing I'm most proud of is being part of this team? Because it sounds really cheesy, but like honestly, that it's the best bit is to go, and it doesn't really matter what we're building. The fact that this team approaches it in the same way with the same fervor every time is like the most exciting.
Yeah. I won't say it's a cop-out because I know how you feel. I'm with that with my community. There's so many times, and it's always kind of one of those questions that I see bandied about like, you know, like, oh, was there a specific moment in Sea of Thieves that really like was memorable? It's like, well, I've had tons of memorable experiences. I've had tons of times where I've been in fights and I've come away with loot, or you know, there's something that I had to overcome, or there was an aha moment during a puzzle that it was just like, oh, it was so cool to finally work that out. And when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, I've had a bunch of those, but at the end of the day, all of those really do kind of pale in comparison to just knowing that when I was doing it, I was probably doing it with some of my community members. And those are the times where it's like, it's a blur as far as what we did, but I know I had a good time with the people I was with. And that was the takeaway. So I won't call that a cop out at all.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
So as we're kind of like looking to wrap things up here, there's a couple questions that I had to ask, but I'm kind of curious because I know what I've been playing, and a lot of what I play, I tend to see like, oh man, you know, I'd love to have this, but in Sea of Thieves, I'd love to see like what are some of the things that I played like through Destiny 2, or like World of Warcraft. There's plenty of things that I've seen, especially building around communities, because at least with those games, I've had communities that I've been a part of, but also groups of friends that are my friends. So is there anything that you're currently playing outside of Sea of Thieves that you're really enjoying? And if so, what are some of the things about that you really are enjoying?
I mean, you are asking me this on the 1 week where everyone in the world is playing the same video game. So let's talk about it. Tears of the Kingdom is pretty good, isn't it?
Oh God, it's so good. I was worried. I was worried that I wouldn't have that sense of exploration, but what are you enjoying about Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm really enjoying a couple of things. The community, you mentioned the community yourself around some of the multiplayer games. Like there is a genuine community around Tears of the Kingdom at the moment because of its creation aspects. Like seeing so many videos, images, clips, stories from like colleagues and friends of what people are building, and like some of them are elegant and beautiful and some of them are absolute monstrosities, but the fact that people have built them and they most of the time work is an absolute joy. And like I'm really enjoying seeing people express their love for just building stuff, like just taking random bits of stuff and mashing it together and going, oh, this works, or oh, this didn't work, but it was hilarious. Like, it's so good to see that. And to have that come out of a single player game is really cool. Like, really cool that we're all playing in an age where sharing those kind of things is incredibly easy. So that's really cool to see. I think you're spot on to call out the exploration. I've certainly not played enough of it to have seen anywhere near the limit of what's in the game. Like I'm still scratching the surface of the first couple of areas.
So big.
But won't get into spoilers, but I have seen all the layers, and that blew me away.
Right?
Like, that was incredible. Like the way they've expanded upon a world that was essentially a world from a previous game, I think is brilliant. Like, and I was reading some interviews with some of the creators, and the way they've embraced like the purest form of fun for this one, like the ascend power that you get as part of it. Certainly the story I was reading, though don't quote me on this, the story I was reading was that it's that was born out of a debug tool that they'd made for some QA testers to zip around the world a little bit faster. Yeah. And they realized that it was super fun and had incredibly exciting implications for puzzles and solving stuff and moving around that we're like,
yeah,
why don't we just make it a feature? And then that like basically bore fruit in the one of the phrases I saw was one of the quotes that I saw from the creators was, sometimes cheating is fun. And like that is such a pure way of just letting the player do all the things that they want to do.
Yeah.
And the way that certainly in the early stages of the game where I'm at, like it's amazing the way that they've allowed players to cheat without completely breaking the game.
Yep.
And that's the Tears of the Kingdom specific stuff. There is still all of that excitement is still layered upon the genius that was displayed in Breath of the Wild in terms of its exploration. So all that in one package is stunning. What are your favorite bits of what you've played so far?
So there's speaking in a very kind of vague way, one of the layers that you touched on that was a real expansion to the game. That was the lower layer.
Yes.
There was a thing that came into that I didn't realize was going to be in there. And I chased it for a good 30 minutes trying to see where it was going to go. Cause I was just like, what is that thing in here for? Where is it going? And I have to find out. So I was running around for 30 minutes trying to see where this thing ended up. Could not catch it. I was so close. I kept having to deal with different issues down in that layer that kept slowing me down. But man, I chased that thing for a good 30 minutes and I still want to find out where it ended up going out of. But there was a moment when I realized how special this game was, because I think I was in like one of the ruins in Hyrule Field, and there was a well. And wells in Breath of the Wild were a Korok seed. They were, find something, stick it in the well. That was how you worked out that puzzle. In this one, the well was actually a well. There was a hole down in there. And when I went down in there, there was a story being told that anyone walking by could have ignored, could have missed. And going down in there and finding out that there was a person that had been staying there because it was safe. And they had an epiphany down there, and it was a sense of exploration that drove them to leave, was so fantastic. And then to realize that I couldn't climb my way out because it was so early in the game. I didn't have enough stamina. I didn't prepare. I didn't even think about it. And I was sitting there like, well, now I'm stuck in here. I don't know what to do.
Now you're the person stuck in the well.
And then I realized, I was like, oh, I have an ability that gets me out of the well. That's right. I can use ascend. So I ascended my way out of the well. But it was one of those moments where a sense of exploration pushed me to do something that I didn't have an answer for, but the game had planned for that. They'd given me the tools. I just had to make sure I used the tools in the way that I wouldn't normally I'm not accustomed to using. And I've discovered that with certain fights too, like and a little bit of a spoilers. There's a talus, which is a rock creature that comes out of the ground. And in the first game, you just kind of had to deal with it with shooting the little crystal that's on its head. And then you go and you smack the crystal and then eventually it disappears. But in this one, those are a little more protected by the bokoblin, which are kind of the main enemy that you come across. And finding out that the little structures that they've kind of built on top of the talus are perfect ways to use ascend to get on top of those platforms to then get to the little crystal.
Yeah.
And finding a way to stun it by, it usually chucks its arms at you, like the big rock arms. It'll kind of using rewind as a way to kind of stun it and then use ascend to get on top of those. That little puzzle has not only simplified the fight for those guys significantly for me, but with such a genuine sense of beautiful discovery that I was like, I can see that they designed it this way. I hadn't
actually thought of using rewind on their rock arms. That's really good.
Yeah. And
that's really good.
Can I give you another one? Can I spoil it?
Oh yeah, please. Go on.
So the Octoroks, right? They shoot the little rocks at you. Famous for being in the game when the bat. Use rewind on those. What it'll do? They'll drop down, and when rewind hits, when it stops, the rock is right above them. So you click off or rewind, the rock drops, they explode.
Oh my days, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
I love those moments because it was a thing where I was like, you know what, I hate these little guys. I'm gonna throw the rock back at them because it's always a timing thing. It's always like, okay, well, I got to dodge the rock, but I got to shoot them with the arrow because I can't get them pop unless I run over there and cut the little leaf off of their head, and they'll pop up after that. But having that little sense of discovery with playing around with the abilities was so fantastic. It's little things like that I absolutely adore about this game. And those are the things that I loved when first kind of exploring like a tall tale or an island with a riddle and coming across like, it's the exact same feeling I get when I would go to an island and I would follow a riddle, and then the riddle would tell me the number of steps facing a direction, and you would hold up your compass and it's why the compass is one of my favorite items in the game. And you would sit there and then you'd pull out your shovel and you'd click in and you'd hit the chest. And it's like, yes, I figured it out. I understood what the assignment was. I made it to the very end. And there's that small sense of euphoria when you're like, oh, now I get to see what I dug up. And I love those little moments in Breath of the Wild because they happen all over the time. Over the world and stuff. So I've been loving
design. The sound design as well is stunning.
Oh my God.
I could spend hours just running in a straight line, listening to my weapon clink against the shield.
Yeah.
Like that is the purest form of relaxation for me.
That's your ASMR. I love it.
It is, yeah.
There's the Rito village, still one of my favorite villages from Breath of the Wild. The best music ever there. It reminds me of Wind Waker, and it reminds me of just sailing out on Wind Waker and the music that adventurous music that you'd get there. I didn't realize this until, it may have been in Breath of the Wild, but I didn't realize it till Tears of the Kingdom. But when Link is cooking, when the little time that he's cooking before it gives you like the little musical note that kind of lets you know if you did a good meal or a bad meal or an exceptional meal, he hums during that little bit, and the notes that he hums are the Ocarina songs from Ocarina of Time. So he'll go like da 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 da, and I'm like, I know that, or he'll do like da 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 da, and I'm like, that's the Song of Storms, and he'll hum these little, and it's like it's almost like a callback, and it's like if you can pick it out, you're like, I understand that reference. It's like the Captain America meme. But I love those little moments, like those little discoveries that you find in Sea of Thieves, or not Sea of Thieves, in Tears of the Kingdom are just so well realized, but so subtle that it's easy to overlook. Yeah. So
there's a beauty in that subtlety for sure.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes as a result of Tears of the Kingdom, because I think everyone kind of looks at like Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, and sees that was the primordial ooze, like Banjo-Kazooie, Nuts and Bolts, crawled so that Tears of the Kingdom could walk. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of the changes that we got with Breath of the Wild across the industry. Changed a lot of how people thought about how to build games, especially open world games with nonlinear storytelling. I'm interested to see what Tears of the Kingdom does for the game industry in 5 years after everyone's kind of consumed it and then started to implement it into their gameplay. And I'm curious to see like if Rare looks to use any of the ideas or the concepts that come from Tears of the Kingdom in their designs for Sea of Thieves, or even in Everwild at this point.
Yeah, like we are creative at the end of the day. Like, you're a creative, I'm a creative, everyone I work with is creative. Like, it's impossible not to be influenced by the awesome things you see in the world. Mm-hmm. Some of those are incredible. Video games, movies, songs, TV shows. Some of them are amazing moments in life, like catching a sunset or scoring a goal in a football match, or like sharing a pint with friends or something. Like, it's impossible not to be inspired by those. And I think, like, more than any individual mechanic or sort of academic learning that folks can take from Tears of the Kingdom, like, I'd really hope that folks embrace the risk that was taken with Tears of the Kingdom. to put such bold new things in, and like the playfulness with which it was done. Like, you don't have to go and put a building mechanic in your game, but you could go away and think about how to approach your game in a slightly different way because the player actually finds it more fun. And like those two things, like you could build a game in a way that no one is ever going to compare it to Tears of the Kingdom, but they're completely different games. But you've taken your inspiration because of the folks who made Tears of the Kingdom, took that risk and did so with the love and passion that made it super playful. And I think you're right. Like, it's not just Tears of the Kingdom. It's a whole ton of the games that are going to come out this year, came out last year. Like, it's a great time to be playing video games, and it's a great time to be figuring out how to make video games. Because I don't think anyone truly understands how to make a video game yet. We're all just kind of muddling our way there. But that's the joy of the creative process, for me at least.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not upsetting people by saying that. But, like,
what do you mean you don't?
There would be no fun in doing it if we knew how to do it.
Yeah, it would just be nothing but Flappy Bird. Everyone would just have their own skin of Flappy Bird. That would be the ultimate. That would be how to make a game. I have to let you go, but there's one question I wanted to make sure that I got to, because it's one that is near and dear to my heart, just for my love of films. But what is your perfect Sunday? My
perfect Sunday. That is an excellent question. I would say it has to be in the middle of summer. Like, it has to be. We go through all sorts of seasons in this country. And the days over winter where it's dark for most of the time and raining for most of the time, I cannot stand them. So that it would have to be a lovely sunny Sunday. I think we'd start off the morning with a little session of Rocket League with the lads, with my friends from uni, play a bit of Rocket League, get a bit of that social aspect in, do a few jobs around the house, maybe some gardening, build something, because there's a satisfaction in a to-do list. And then as the afternoon settles in, you've had a wonderful weekend, probably sit out in the garden, stick some music on, and do a bit of prep for the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that's ongoing at the moment. And I think, yeah, that would be me, like living in my own little world in a perfect version of the real world.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like...
How about you? What's your perfect Sunday?
My perfect Sunday. Well, a lot of it is dependent on when I start to, or when I wake up, because I love sleeping in on my Sundays.
Yes.
So a good start to a Sunday is around 10 o'clock. I'm kind of naturally waking up. I don't have any alarms going. I don't have anything, waking. No cats are jumping on me, begging me for stuff or attention and stuff. So I just naturally wake up. It's like a nice 76 degrees, which would probably be around like a 22, 23 Celsius.
Perfect.
I get up, I make a cup of coffee. I open up the windows, and I'll sit down, probably just kind of drink coffee. And depending on if my wife is either out doing something that day or if she's home, sit down, either watch some anime with her for some of the shows that we're watching, or I'll pick up a game, usually like a single player game, and I'll just kind of chill and just play that for a few hours. Go out, maybe check the mail, decide on lunch, like maybe go out. I'd probably go out, get some lunch, go to like a Japanese restaurant, get some teriyaki chicken on rice with some sauce, and maybe like a nice little bento box. After that, I'd probably go to the mall, walk around, check a couple stores, see if there's anything that's catch my fancy. Probably come home, have a nice dinner, and just kind of pass out on the couch. After that, after just having a little bit of exploration. So
that's the dream. That's the dream.
It's just a good day to have some sort of time where you can live for yourself before living for others. And that's what I like about Sundays. You get that one day. Saturday is like the go around and do stuff, get everything in order, do the laundry, get the shopping done, get that all taken care of, record podcasts, do streams, things like that. And then Sunday is the what does Logan want to do kind of day. And then that gets me set for the Monday.
That's cool. I like that.
Well, George, I really appreciate you wanting to jump in to do this. You nailed it just like you did with One Big Game. I'm super looking forward to what comes next year. I'm really excited to see what's coming with Sea of Thieves. I think we've got some complete speculation, but I'm excited to see what's coming in the next month, because I've seen a lot of little things that might push us to get there, and I think I'm hoping that there's something big for this summer. I think there will. Usually Rare does a pretty good job at putting something out big on the summer and in June and stuff. So I'm excited to have you back in the future to talk about anything you want to talk about. If you want to come back and talk about football, we can talk about football. I can learn what teams are in the UK, which ones I should be supporting, because I know that Craig is very particular about which team to support. And I don't ever want to be on his bad side, especially with the guns that he's got rocking. So I'm looking
when are you gonna pull your boots on yourself? You mentioned you used to be a goalkeeper. What can we do to inspire you to play football again?
It would probably be a charity event. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
if there was a charity event that I could get to, and I knew that it was going to be a football thing, it'd probably be something for like Special Effect or Able Gamers, or my wife does a Life Steps, a nonprofit that she works for, so it'd probably be something like. But it would probably have to be one of those things where I'd want to jump in with friends and do that on. But yeah, it's been a long time, and I don't know if my right knee can handle a whole lot of running, so it would definitely have to be a goalkeeper thing. So maybe one day I'll be as good as Joe. Who knows?
No, what a performance from Joe. We're going to get distracted talking about football again, but what a performance.
Yeah, he did a great job. And then he come in later on to do the commentary, just all around salt of the earth kind of guy. Love seeing him kind of own up to the fame that he's garnered with the Sea of Thieves community. It's been hilarious.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's massive in making that event happen.
That's cool.
We'll have to make something else happen so that we can see you see your heroics between the sticks, as they say about goalkeepers.
Man, calling up the 8-year-old me who would be that prodigy. George, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I appreciate you staying up to kind of hang out and chat with me. So anything.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine. And thanks to Christina McGrath, who I would be remiss if I didn't mention was kind enough to help set this up so that we could record. And hopefully folks are enjoying this. If you guys love it, please let me know. Please shout out George. George, where can they find you on Twitter if they want to thank you for everything that you've done so far?
I think, so correct me if I'm wrong, I think I'm at Goldilocks II. That's 2-letter I's, because what's the point of a useful username on Twitter? But yeah, at Goldilocks the second, or at Goldilocks II, or at Goldilocks E, depending on how you want to pronounce my Twitter handle. It's horrible how locked into those things people get. Like, you make a decision when you're like a teenager, and then you just have to live with it forever.
You can always reinvent yourself. You don't have to be Goldilocks. I am really curious about Goldilocks, like where that came from, though.
I used to have really long blonde hair. And I used to hang out with a group of friends, and one of them was called Ellen. She was like, "Oh, we're like the Three Bears, and you're Goldilocks," because I had really long blonde hair.
That's great. That's too funny. I love it. All right, well, we'll call it here. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate the time that you spent with me. It was good to talk with you. I'm looking. Are you going to SOT Fest? Can you say for sure if you're going to be going to the UK one?
I will be there. Yes, looking forward to seeing everyone again. It was a highlight last time, so
I will be there. My wife and I will be walking around at some point.
Right.
I'm going to be recording a podcast there, so if you want to come back for that, you're more than welcome to come up to the panel and chat. I don't know how comfortable you'll be in front of a bunch of fans who will be listening to every word you have to say. But
I know, I'm fine talking about football. Sea of Thieves makes me sweat, man.
Who's in the room with you? Are they giving you any looks?
I'm afraid I can't turn this camera around and show you.
Okay, that's fair.
Everyone's just, the eyes of Rare just staring. No, it's totally fine.
For the listeners, you may not realize this, but they have the whole Sea of Thieves, like next year's worth of plans, like on the whiteboard. I can't show any of it, so I apologize in advance, but there's going to be some cool stuff to look forward to. You can rest assured.
If they did, I would not be allowed in this room.
It's not as bad as Fire. Like let's be honest. James and Fire was the biggest commotion I think Sea of Thieves has ever had to deal with.
Bless him.
I love him.
He's great.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Keelhauled podcast. I hope you enjoyed this interview with George Orton, and I hope that you look forward to future episodes where I get a chance to hopefully talk to more devs. It is something I always strive to do because I love having a conversation with them about what they do and some of the different things that they've done with the Sea of Thieves in general. So be sure to give some love to the devs. If you see George on Twitter, be sure to send him my love as well as the love of the community and the Keelhauled podcast community. Pirates, if you have any questions, concerns you want to share with me, feel free to let me know over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always send an email in to CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com, or you can join up on the Discord where we do have the Sherpas who are there to help out with any questions that you might have regarding the game or things that you might want to do that you need help with. They're available there. And shout out to the Gold Hoarders for just being awesome. So that's going to do it, folks. As always, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.